If you are following our material, you know that I am convinced that every single person is created for a purpose and has a destiny that God intends to make our world better. God's best plan does not include failure. In Jeremiah 29:11, God has openly admitted that his plan is for our good and not for our failure. This declaration seems contradictory because there are a million bad things happening in the world, and we all encounter our measure of trouble, anxiety, and turmoil. For the most part, it is very easy for us to feel that living the good life is like bailing a boat with a hole in the bottom. One of our advanced training series addresses how we need to view and deal with adversity in life, but isn't it confounding that we are living in a troubled world that actually works contrary to the declared intention of God? Where does adversity come from, and can we live lives that overcome trouble and move toward the best of life that God wants for us? So here's a thought. In the earliest of Earth's history, God made the angels. Some angels were given a higher rank and leadership role. They were Gabriel, Michael, and Lucifer. Lucifer, who would later be called Satan, was an archangel who was in charge of managing the worship of angels who were on the earth long before Adam and Eve were created. Reading Ezekiel 28:13-15, we see that Lucifer was the appointed angel who was in charge of the industry of worship in all the earth. So, it's true. God created every being, angel or human, to fulfill a good purpose. None of his creations were created with a purpose or mission to do harm, cause hurt, or destroy or trash this world. During that time, this amazing angelic kingdom was in perfect harmony. All were living amazingly blessed lives, and there was no hurt in all the earth. This pre-Eden civilization, when angels served in a perfect world, Lucifer was caught up in his own beauty, power, and pride. He engineered a rebellion against God. He spread his brazen lie among the angels. As you can read in more detail in my book, The Story of Adam, Lucifer abandoned his destiny of managing a perfect world to overthrow God who created all that was considered good. This, my friend, is the very first instance of failure in Earth's history. And we now see that this moment in history represents the kind of failure that God did not intend. Satan's missed opportunity is the genesis of the alternative to God's perfect plan, which was already good and could not be made better. Instead of the perfect world that God intended, there would now exist an alternative narrative that would thereafter infect our world from that day forward. So, take note that once Lucifer chose to follow an alternative plan other than his appointed mission, his future turned for the worst of destinations. His ignoble failure has an immense impact on all the rest of history. Failure now was part of his best of plans, no matter how boastful his promises. What we see in history is what kind of world God intends, and what happens when any person, any government or group abandons their purpose in life. But as bad as things were after the fall of Satan, and the world was then in darkness and ruin, God would try once again to create an amazingly perfect world. This time, he would not populate the earth only with angels. He first remade the earth as a beautiful garden and created man from the dust of the ground. All was going just fine until Satan suggested that God's plan wasn't true. Adam and Eve were given the task of tilling and managing the garden and were blessed to walk with God at the end of each day. Not too hard, right? But notice that God does give each person a purpose and mission to fulfill in life. First Eve, then Adam, bought into Satan's lie and disobeyed the simple instructions God had given to the first family in history. At this point, they abandoned their mission or purpose and foolishly believed the lie that there existed an alternative direction in life that God had not designed. Because of this choice, their future changed from the good that God installed to a corrupted version that God did not intend. So Adam and Eve ignored their calling and thereby lost the best life that they could have ever enjoyed. Moving into our present existence, I am convinced that there are two alternative paths we each may follow. It must be understood that we presently live in an adversarial and contested world. Every failure in all of history stems from the choices of men and women who also abandon their appointed duty or mission to align with God's better plan. Sadly, our contested world is a mix of people trying to do good and others making selfish and mistaken choices that brings harm to others. Could you imagine a world where everyone does the right thing and refuses to serve their own prideful or greedy passions? Two past eras in history were started with perfection, and the compromised decisions of people made this world a hard existence. In each case, paradise was lost when these historic figures turned their back on their God-appointed destinies for their lives. That explanation is a simple illustration about success and failure and the two alternatives that we have been given. You too, and everyone ever born, were created with a destiny and mission in life. We have the best possible life when we find and follow our appointed destiny. We also have the ability to make choices that ignore or defy our appointed mission. It is easy to get drawn off mission because we are cultivated to chase what society calls success. Primarily, we are constantly teased to chase money, fame, power, and pleasure. But are these popular pursuits the universal measures of success? I believe that your success in life can be other blessings than wealth, fame, power, or pleasure. Our Success in Life training series is designed to get people back on mission. When we are operating in alignment with the better plan of God and understand that our purpose in life is to work in tandem with God, success will follow. When we find ourselves wandering off to chase the alternative plans that are not meant for us, we will fail. And even if it feels like we have succeeded, our success is often disappointing and haunted by failing detractions that seem like tasteless food. I want to invite everyone to discover the true meaning of a victorious life. What we are told is the epitome of success are popular and attractive lies. Sadly, we usually don't realize that we've been lied to until we are already neck-deep in the swamp. The excellent news is that there are divine instructions that redirect us from the slow death of failure and come with the sure promise of success. I did not invent this program, but I found these principles written carefully in a very old book. That's the Bible, in case you didn't guess. I'm sure you might figure these things out on your own, but it took me more than 20 years to organize thousands of great ideas down to the core teachings that are the principles of success in life at any level of life. I find that there are 3 core beliefs that we must embrace with a passion. These are taught in Level 1 of the Success in Life series. At Level 2, we reach the ABC steps that will revitalize your life and put you on the path that is already empowered to bring you to the success in life that you were created to achieve. I wish that you could attend our training session in Florida, but after years of development and with the aid of new technology, I'd like to share some amazing information with you about success and failure, no matter where you are located. Please visit our website as www.theprincipletruth.com and join thousands of others who want to find the success and satisfaction that God has always intended you to achieve. Remember that God is for you, not against you. He wants you to succeed and not fail. And He has all the power necessary to power your success for those who choose to fulfill the destiny He has planted in your heart.